Welcome to this episode of More Than Just a Score. We're continuing our six-part series on the FIFA World Cup with the 2026 tournament in North America now just weeks away. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and enjoy some of our earlier episodes. Today we're taking a look back 40 years to one of the last times the World Cup trophy was hoisted on North American soil. That was when Diego Maradona and Argentina were crowned kings of the world at the famed Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. We are, of course, looking at World Cup 86. The 1986 FIFA World Cup remains one of the most iconic tournaments in football history. It was held between May 31st and June 29th of 1986. The competition delivered unforgettable drama. Some political undertones were involved as well as some remarkable goals. It also featured what is perhaps the greatest individual performance the World Cup has ever witnessed. But the legacy of Mexico 1986 extends far beyond a single player or a single nation. The story of the 1986 World Cup began years before kickoff. It's important to note that Mexico 86 was never originally intended to be in Mexico. Colombia was awarded the hosting rights for the tournament in 1974. At the time, the World Cup involved only 16 teams, and Colombia believed that it could manage such an event. However, FIFA later expanded the competition to 24 teams beginning in 1982. The increased demands created major financial and infrastructure problems for Colombia. Economic instability and political concerns as well made hosting such a large event untenable. In 1982, Colombia's president announced that the country would no longer host the tournament under FIFA's conditions. That presented soccer's governing body with a difficult challenge. With just a few years remaining before kickoff, a replacement host had to be selected quickly. Mexico emerged as the leading candidate because it had successfully hosted the 1970 World Cup. The country had the stadiums, transportation systems, and organizational experience that could support the tournament's needs on such a short timeline. FIFA officially awarded hosting rights to Mexico in 1983, making it the first nation in history to host two FIFA World Cups. Even after receiving the tournament, Mexico encountered enormous difficulties. In September of 1985, a devastating earthquake struck Mexico City, which killed thousands of people. Buildings collapsed, infrastructure suffered heavy damage, and fears emerged that the World Cup might need to be relocated. Stadiums required inspections, while critics questioned whether the country should continue preparing for a sporting event in the midst of a national crisis. Mexican organizers insisted that the tournament could symbolize recovery and resilience. Reconstruction accelerated and preparations continued. By the time the opening match arrived, Mexico had proven capable of overcoming extraordinary adversity. Qualification for that World Cup illustrated football's growing popularity. A total of 121 national teams entered the qualification phase, competing for just 24 places in the finals. Mexico qualified automatically as hosts, while Italy also qualified automatically as the defending champions. The remaining 22 spots were distributed amongst FIFA's regional confederations, Europe receiving the largest number of places, while South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and CONCACAF competed fiercely for fewer opportunities. The qualification campaign produced several historic stories. Canada, one of Mexico's co-hosts for the 2026 tournament, reached the World Cup finals for the first time in its history after capping qualifying by defeating Honduras 2-1 in St. John's, Newfoundland. Les Rouges would not qualify for another World Cup again until 2022 in Qatar. Iraq also qualified for its first and only World Cup appearance, despite being forced to play home matches on neutral grounds because of the Iran-Iraq War. The Iraqis will return to football's biggest stage in 2026, with the tournament expanding to 48 teams. Denmark also qualified for the first time and quickly gained admiration for its attacking style of football. Paraguay returned for the first time since 1958, while Portugal reached the tournament for the first time since 1966. Scotland's qualification for 1986 was tinged with sadness, though, after manager Jock Stein suffered a fatal heart attack after his team secured a crucial playoff result against Wales. His death overshadowed the Tartan Army's qualification celebrations and remains one of football's saddest moments. When the tournament finally did kick off, fans noticed unique conditions created by Mexico's geography. Many matches took place with players dealing with the dual punishment of high altitude and extreme heat. Players from European countries often struggled physically with the climate and thinner air. FIFA scheduled matches during the daytime television windows to maximize audiences around the world, making conditions even more difficult. Yet the demanding environment also contributed to some exciting football, as exhausted defenders created opportunities for attackers. The format featured 6 groups with 4 teams per group, the top 2 teams from each group advancing to the knockout rounds automatically, along with the 4 best third-place finishers. The structure increased drama because more teams remained alive deep into the group stage. Italy showed up as the defending champions but looked anything but dominant. Brazil arrived with one of the tournament's strongest squads, and many observers viewed them as favorites. France carried huge expectations after winning the 1984 European Championship. England hoped that striker Gary Lineker could lead them to glory, while the West Germans once again looked disciplined and difficult to beat. Among the South American contenders, Argentina entered the competition surrounded by uncertainty. Manager Carlos Bilardo faced criticism for his tactics, and many doubted whether Diego Maradona could carry the pressure of leading the national team. Maradona possessed extraordinary talent, but the 1986 World Cup would elevate him into sporting immortality. The opening ceremony at the Azteca reflected both Mexican culture and football's expanding global significance. Crowds filled stadiums with noise, color, and passion throughout the tournament. Mexico's atmosphere became one of the defining features of the event. During the group stage, the Danes emerged as one of the most entertaining teams. Nicknamed Danish Dynamite, they knocked over Scotland by 1-0, and then followed that up with wins over Uruguay and West Germany. Their 6-1 victory over Uruguay became one of the tournament's most memorable group stage performances.
Here's Eljar. Laudrup taken down to his right. Eljar goes alone. Eljar! It's the hat-trick goal!
Brazil also impressed with technically brilliant football. Players such as Socrates and Careca helped the Brazilians advance confidently through the opening round. The French recovered from a slow start, eventually finding their rhythm to finish as the runners-up to the Soviets in Group C. England struggled early on in Group F, losing the opener to Portugal and then drawing with Morocco. However, Gary Lineker rescued the team with a hat-trick against Poland to send the Three Lions on to the knockout rounds. His finishing ability made him one of the stars of the tournament. The host Mexicans performed with an energy that ignited home crowds. Mexico advanced confidently through the group stage. Hugo Sanchez, already one of the world's most recognizable forwards because of his success with Real Madrid, became the face of Mexican football during the competition. Even though Mexico eventually lost to West Germany in the quarterfinals, the tournament strengthened football's cultural importance within the country. Argentina progressed out of its group steadily rather than spectacularly. The team defeated South Korea 3-1 and then drew with Italy before beating Bulgaria to win Group A. Throughout the group stage, Maradona increasingly controlled matches with his creativity and extraordinary confidence. Opponents struggled to stop him. The knockout rounds transformed the tournament into football theater, though. Argentina narrowly defeated Uruguay in the round of 16, while England pounded Paraguay. Belgium stunned the Soviet Union with an incredible 4-3 victory after extra time.
Well, we've had plenty in this game. We're going to get a thunderstorm in a minute. Here's Kleisters. Kleisters coming again. It's a goal! Klaassen has made it 4-2. And you can't hear the thunder now.
The Belgians had trailed twice in the game before equalizing late in the second half and then scoring twice in extra time to beat the Soviets 4-3. France would eliminate the defending champions from Italy to set up a quarterfinal showdown with Brazil. That game would become one of the greatest matches in World Cup history. It featured a mix of technical brilliance, attacking football, and dramatic tension. Michel Platini missed a penalty during normal time, but also netted the equalizer late in the first half that would send the game to extra time and eventually penalties.
The football world holds its breath. Are we going to see the wheel turn full circle after Seville? We are! France have won! France are in the semi-final. 4-3 on penalties. Fernandes! What a great moment for the European champions. And who would say they don't deserve it? And in the most tense and dramatic circumstances in Guadalajara, Brazil are out of the World Cup.
Luis Fernandez with the decisive penalty that sent the French through and into the semi-finals. Many observers still regarding that match as one of football's finest contests. But it was far from alone. Perhaps the defining match of the tournament arrived when Argentina faced off against England in the quarterfinals. There was political tension surrounding that game because Argentina and the United Kingdom had fought the Falklands War only 4 years earlier. Although players attempted to focus solely on football, the emotional and symbolic significance of the match was impossible to ignore. In the 51st minute, Maradona scored one of the most controversial goals in sports history. Challenging English goalkeeper Peter Shilton for a loose ball, Maradona punched the ball into the net with his hand. The referee failed to spot the infringement and awarded the goal. English players protested furiously, and in the age of the video assistant referee, that goal would have been ruled out within seconds, but no video assistant was available, and the goal was allowed to stand. Maradona later described the goal as scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. The phrase, hand of God, immediately became part of football mythology. Only minutes later, though, Maradona produced perhaps the greatest goal ever scored in a World Cup. He collected the ball near midfield, then dribbled past multiple English defenders with astonishing balance and control before beating Shilton.
Maradona turned past two and runs away from Reed, and then gets past Butcher and past another, and Maradona goes on and scores one of the greatest goals the World Cup has ever seen. One of the best.
That run displayed astonishing technique, courage, and imagination, and FIFA would later vote it as the goal of the century. England would eventually score, though, through Gary Lineker and pressured Argentina late into the match, but the South Americans held on for a 2-1 victory. The game transformed Maradona into a global sporting icon. Next up for Argentina was a semi-final matchup with Belgium. Maradona again dominated the contest, scoring twice in the 2-0 victory. His second goal included another dazzling dribble through defenders and reinforced the idea that fans were witnessing one of the greatest individual tournament performances in football history. The other semi-final had West Germany shutting down France 2-0. Andreas Brehme opened the scoring early, and then Rudi Völler put the game on ice with a tally late. The final took place on June 29, 1986, before more than 110,000 fans at the Azteca. Argentina appeared comfortable after goals from Jose Luis Brown and Jorge Valdano established a 2-0 lead. Maradona was orchestrating attacks calmly and seemed certain to lift the trophy, but the West Germans battled back with a pair of second-half goals to get level with less than 10 minutes to play. Yet in the 84th minute, Maradona delivered one final moment of genius. He received the ball in midfield, then threaded a perfect pass through the German defenders for Jorge Burruchaga, who scored the winner.
Maradona. Valdano. Maradona. Burruchaga. Burruchaga's away. Burruchaga! Argentina lead again. Jorge Burruchaga. It could be the winner in this World Cup final.
Argentina secured its second World Cup title with the 3-2 win. Maradona lifted the trophy after producing one of the greatest tournaments any footballer has ever played before or since. He scored 5 goals, created countless opportunities, and dominated the biggest matches against elite opponents. But despite all of the Maradona magic, it was actually England's Gary Lineker who would finish as the tournament's top scorer with 6 goals to take home the Golden Boot. But in addition to taking home the biggest prize, Maradona also won the Golden Ball as the competition's best player. Across 52 matches, World Cup '86 produced 132 goals and attracted massive global television audiences. The 1986 World Cup reflected football's growing commercialization. Television coverage was becoming more sophisticated, while sponsorship and marketing expanded dramatically. FIFA increasingly recognized the tournament's global financial potential. Mexico 1986 helped cement the World Cup as not just a major sporting event, but one of the planet's largest entertainment spectacles. Mexico's successful job of hosting carried enormous significance. The country had overcome political uncertainty, economic challenges, and a devastating earthquake to stage what was a remarkable tournament. The success reinforced Mexico's football identity and demonstrated that World Cups could thrive outside of Europe's traditional power centers. That tournament also left a major tactical legacy. Argentina's system under Bilardo combined defensive structure with freedom for creative players like Maradona. Different football philosophies collided throughout the competition. Brazil emphasized artistry, France relied on technical fluidity, West Germany showcased organization and efficiency. Argentina, though, built a World Cup winning formula around one transcendent player. The Hand of God goal would reverberate throughout football long after 1986. Critics argued that the incident exposed serious weaknesses in officiating and demonstrated the need for technological assistance. Decades later, controversies like Maradona's handball contributed to the introduction of goal line technology and video assistant referee systems to top international and domestic competitions. At the same time, Maradona's second goal against England was a sharp reminder of why football inspires so much passion. The contrast between the two goals was, in fact, a microcosm of the sport itself. Football is capable of controversy and injustice that is argued and debated for years after the final whistle is blown, but it's also capable of breathtaking, jaw-dropping beauty. Several teams came away from Mexico '86 leaving lasting impressions despite not winning the tournament. Denmark's fearless attacking football made the team a fan favorite. The Danes, with a generation that featured Brian and Michael Laudrup, along with the steely precision of goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel, would go on a miracle run in 1992 to claim the European Championship. France produced elegant and technically brilliant performances. Les Bleus would evolve from heroes such as Platini into a golden generation of superstars like Zinedine Zidane and Thierry Henry, who would lead the French to the World Cup win at home in 1998 and then the European Championship in 2000. Belgium's surprising run to the semifinals showed how the expanded 24-team tournament allowed for emerging nations to dream realistically of success. But for Argentina, the victory carried enormous weight. The country had endured political turmoil and dictatorship in the years leading up to the 1986 World Cup. Football offered a source of national pride and unity. Maradona became more than an athlete. He evolved into a cultural symbol representing creativity and resilience. Also, manager Carlos Bilardo deserves enormous credit for Argentina's triumph. Before the tournament, he had faced heavy criticism from sections of the Argentine press who disliked his tactical philosophy. He built the entire system around maximizing Maradona's influence, while also ensuring the team remained defensively organized. Bilardo's tactical flexibility allowed Argentina to adapt to different opponents throughout the competition. Many supporters, not just in Argentina, but worldwide, still consider Mexico 1986 to be one of the greatest World Cups ever played. The tournament combined unforgettable goals, emotional drama, political undertones, and iconic personalities, modern football features incredible athleticism and technical sophistication, but the 1986 tournament remains beloved because its emotion and unpredictability. The Azteca itself further strengthened its legendary status as one of the cathedrals of global football by hosting the finals of both the 1970 and 1986 World Cups. The stadium itself is forever linked with two of football's greatest icons, Pelé and Maradona. It will host its first World Cup finals match since Maradona hoisted the trophy when Mexico kicks off the 2026 World Cup against South Africa. The competition in 1986 also played a role in expanding football's popularity in North America. Mexico demonstrated that the continent could stage major football events, helping to pave the way for the United States to host in 1994 and for the three continental powers to collaborate in staging the 2026 tournament. 1986 was where Canada first stepped onto the World Cup stage. 40 years later, that stage will come to Canada for the first time in the men's tournament's history. More than 4 decades later, highlights from Mexico 1986 are still instantly recognizable. Maradona weaving through England's defense, Lineker celebrating another goal, and the Azteca crowd roaring beneath the Mexican sun continued to define football history. The 1986 World Cup ultimately represented a turning point between eras. It celebrated football's traditional spirit while pushing the sport forward into an ever more globalized landscape. Most importantly, it produced memories that continue to inspire football supporters around the world. We hope you've enjoyed this journey back to the last time Mexico hosted the World Cup back in 1986. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to check out the other episodes in this series as we get set for World Cup 2026. As always, we invite you to hit the like and subscribe buttons and join us next time when we look for more than just a score.